Hey everybody, Larry Powell here, your host for Studio HFL. Welcome to another live with interview this evening. My guest is Peyden Shelton, and we're going to get to Peyden in just a second. But first, I would like to say thank you to the show sponsors. Of course, not in alphabetical order or there's no hierarchy to this. It's just as they're coming to my head. Of course, Messina Covers, S.E. Shires, Eastman Winds, Carl Hammond Design, Pickett, Blackburn, Chop Saver, and Austin Custom Brass. I think I got everybody in there, but thanks to all of those sponsors for the podcast. And of course, you can get links to all of their information directly from Google, or you can go to the website and go from there. Of course, the website, you can also sign up for the newsletter. And if you would like to support the podcast financially, you can do that at Patreon, patreon.com. And yeah, I think that's what I need to do for the plug. So now let's get to this conversation this evening with Peyden. Peyden, this is live from Possum Holler, West Virginia.
JK, Salt Lake City, you know how it goes. But
Yeah,
Larry,
it's,
great introduction on remembering all the sponsors and stuff. Great plugs.
ooh, thank you. Thank you.
You nailed it, dude. You nailed it.
Well, I wish I could say I had a teleprompter or something in front of me, but and I tell you, it's the older I get. So I have three boys, and when we were all together a week or so ago, I actually went through like all the names. I couldn't call them by the right name. You know, it's like you know what I'm talking about. It's like
Oh, my mom does that for
I
me and my
became my
brother all the
parents.
time. Yep,
Yeah, yeah,
yep, yep. I know exactly that feeling.
it's a thing. So welcome. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to be here and pleasure to see you and meet you the first time as well. Yeah.
So I'll be honest. One of the main reasons that I looked your name up, well, I didn't look it up. People were saying, hey, you're experiencing the same thing as this guy, Peyden Shelton. And of course, what that is major weight loss.
hmm
So we're going to get to that in just a second. But first, let's tell me just a little bit about what's going on. You told me right before we started that you just finished a short performance tour.
Oh, good grief, yes. So I left Salt Lake about March 5th. That was the first day of the University of Utah spring break. And I
Hmm.
went to see my wife. My wife is a vocalist with the U.S. Army Field Band. They were on tour in Texas. I got to see her for just a little bit. And then I immediately flew from Texas back to my undergraduate, Virginia Tech, and I
Hmm.
performed with my Electro-Acoustic Trumpet Ensemble, Fifth Bridge. We got a chance to premiere a giant concert that we have kind of had. We literally, I was flying to Blacksburg, Virginia in March of 2020 when they said, no, pack it up, we're going home.
Hmm.
So it has been 2 years in the making. So I straight up, we got a chance to actually perform that repertoire. And then another post-pandemic thing, I'm part of the Mirari Brass Quintet,
Hmm.
and we were supposed to do a residency at Heidelberg University in Tiffin, Ohio, just a week after that original premiere. And lo and behold, the same residency got rescheduled to happen this month as well. So I told Larry that I just got to see my students for the first time since March 5th
Hmm.
today. And so we are doing an amazing job at trying to catch up on all the lessons and make sure recital rec is going well. But
Hmm.
it's going to be a heck of a month because I didn't stop in April. I actually am premiering and recording the Frank Kelly trumpet concerto with our wind ensemble in April.
You're premiering that.
Yes,
Is that right? So.
at least the wind band version. It was premiered
Hmm.
back in '92, I believe.
Hmm.
Don't fact check me, folks. Don't Twitter tweet me on that. But in so many ways, I'm premiering the wind band version of it because I kind of recommissioned, if you will, Frank
Hmm.
to reorchestrate that piece into the wind band medium because more people kind of know him in that medium than the orchestra
Yep.
version.
Yep.
And I thought it would be a great way to have another cool piece from a well-known composer in the wind band world, and our university is going to premiere it and record it.
So I'm kind of curious. I can understand rescoring from orchestra to wind band, but did he change anything in the solo part?
The solo part is exactly the same, which is thank
Mm-hmm.
goodness because I was practicing the handwritten version that I got. Um, and when he sent me the new kind of like the reorchestrated version that he put in the finale, it was exactly the same. So I was like, thank goodness all the licks are exactly the same. Oh my goodness. but I have not gotten a chance to hear any of the wind band version of it yet. Our wind
Mhm.
ensemble has started rehearsing it, and from what I hear from my students and my colleague who's conducting, is that it sounds a little bit different than the orchestra version. So I know it's going to be different.
Mhm.
But I'm really excited to hear it. We actually get a chance to sit down and run the first movement tomorrow, so that's going to be
Nice.
really exciting to kind of hear it for the very first time.
Are you a play from memory kind of performer?
Oh, good Lord, no. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. I always love watching Håkon Hardenberger or like amazing
Mm.
solos perform because it almost seems
Mm.
like they have it memorized, but they always have it just below the horizon of their eye line as a
Mhm.
safety mechanism. I would love to get there, but I never feel comfortable to try to even start memorized. So I'm not a very good person when it comes to memorization. You can even ask my brass quintet. They're like, "We got to memorize this piece." I'm like, "Oh no, please, please don't let me do that."
Yeah, why was it so easy to do memorize marching band stuff? Oh, wait,
I have no
because
idea.
well,
Yeah,
it's
probably
because you
repetition.
do 8 hours a day, for yeah,
Yeah,
right.
it
That's
took
why
a
that's
long time
easy.
for me. Even in high school, it took me forever to do that then. So
Hmm.
I'm just not the memorization kind of guy. I suck at the memory game too. The little game you put the cards out and you have to match them.
Oh.
Oh, I'm horrible at that. My niece kicks my butt in that stuff too. So
um, so Mirari Brass Quintet. I had a former member of my quintet, Glenn Demick, a tuba player. I think was one of the founding members of that group, if I
I think you're exactly
recall.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Jesse Thoman, who is the horn
Hmm.
teacher at University of Tennessee Martin, mentioned Glenn because
Hmm.
part of our residency, we had a sit down with all the students at Heidelberg at the music department, and Jesse got a chance to tell about the history behind the quintet and all the members and stuff. And I think Glenn was mentioned. Yes, you're exactly right.
Hmm. That's been a while ago. Um,
That's my understanding too. Yeah, it's been in existence for some time, which is kind of cool.
mhm. Yeah, in fact, I remember some of the pictures, actually quite a few pictures from this past week on social media. Um, and then this other group, uh, uh,
Fifth Bridge.
Fifth Bridge. Sorry, I was thinking Far Bridge. It was
It's totally
close.
cool.
It
Yeah.
was close. Yeah, Electro-Acoustic Trumpet Ensemble. Is that what you called it?
Tell me about it. Yeah. So for those who are maybe listening to the podcast, I'm pushing my glasses up to
Hmm.
denote how nerdy a thing that is. But yeah, it's something that the trumpet professor at Virginia Tech, myself, Kelly Rossum at Christopher Newport, Gabe DiMartino at Eastern Carolina, and Ashley Hall
Hmm.
kind of began, and we kind of started it to originally kick off the idea of collaborating. Uh, Even more nerdy with NASA and a member from the Harvard Center for Astrophysics to help bridge a gap between like scientific data and the arts, using the arts as kind of like an avenue to present that data in a different light so that the public can kind of understand a little bit more things about what they're looking at when they see some data, and using that to create some kind of presentation in the art. And it took several years for us to get that concept and that commission off the ground. And so we've just been creating more and more pieces. Like we have David
Hmm.
Sampson write us a piece. The
Hmm.
piece we premiered 2 weeks ago was by Christopher Stark, who's a Guggenheim Fellow and did stuff with the Los Angeles Philharmonic. And we've amassed this giant corpus of repertoire now because
Hmm.
it's for an ensemble that doesn't exist, and it's been a blast. It's very intense, very nerdy, but it's something new. We're kind of excited about it.
So finally, playing trumpet is rocket science,
Uh, Technically, yes, I guess you're right.
right? So,
We're
and
doing
that's
solo
that's a
stuff, yeah.
that's a great lead in to the fact that I have a trumpeting is not rocket science t-shirt. And if you would like to get that, you can go to the merchandise page on the Studio HFL website and get that. In fact, Peyton, I'm going to send you one of those
Oh, you're the
afterwards.
best,
That's
Larry.
that's one of my favorite shirts. And
I
Rex
love it.
Richardson, if you want to know what it looks like, go to Rex's social media. You'll see him wearing it. And Kiku Collins, and there's a whole bunch of others that I've sent it to. But um, uh, a few years ago, I started this group, uh, and I was using a digital guitar pedal and the Yamaha Silent Brass. Now,
Yep.
this is as close as I'm getting to any kind of acoustic. Uh, I don't know what you call it. I was going to use a bad word.
Electroacoustic
Anyways,
collaborations, I guess, yeah.
yeah, but I was playing all these great guitar solos from the classic rock repertoire, and that was fun. But you guys, I would imagine, are doing probably something a little more extensive than that.
In so many words, yes. To sum it up, yes, we're doing some crazy stuff.
Hmm.
We the piece that we premiered this past, I guess, 2 weeks ago now. I'm sorry, by Christopher Stark. It utilized sound sampling. So we like did whispers and things in it. We have another piece by L.J. White, who also teaches at St. Washington State, St. Louis.
Hmm.
Um, and his piece, we had to make sure that when we started the work, all the entrances we had were exactly right. Because if we cracked one thing, the piece would replicate that cycle over and over
Oh,
again throughout the work, and we would just be stuck with somebody cracking a note on it. So we had to make sure that like the stuff we do, it has to be nails so many ways, because
hmm.
a lot of times when you get the sampling process, if you get a splia on something, that splia will haunt you for the entire piece.
Unless that becomes a theme, and then you do variations on the
I guess you're
splia,
right. So then
right?
everyone has to splia. So if I miss a splia, my entire ensemble has to splia. So yeah, it's the theme and variation version of an LJ White piece. Yeah.
There you go. You can give me some credit on that. Okay, I'm kind of curious. I spend a little bit of time in the recording studio. There's quite a bit that goes on here in Indianapolis with
Sure.
Hal Leonard and FJH Publishing and some others. Um, the writing for trumpet over the last few years has gotten better.
Thank goodness,
But
right?
but one of the things is the composers forget that we need to have the horn off the face
Oh my
occasionally.
gosh. Oh my gosh,
So
yes.
I'm kind of curious. Are you experiencing that same sort of thing where it's just like you never get to peel
I
the horn off?
I don't think we have it that much. I think because of the way our ensemble is structured, we have five trumpet players. I think composers typically write fairly well for five voices and give you some time to have some things off.
Hmm.
Um, I that comment brings up a lot of things that I have to talk to my students about, because I encourage my students to do a lot of arranging for NTC,
Hmm.
and they're like, "Oh, I just follow the orchestral version." Well, a violinist can play for minutes on end, and
Right.
it's without rest. And I'm like, you understand that your colleague, your junior colleague who just passed their continuation exam, cannot play a single line with no breath and no rest for 8 minutes straight. You know that, right? And they're like, "Oh, I didn't realize that." Yes, you have to give them some time to breathe. But
Yeah.
professionally,
Not
the people,
everybody's
yeah,
Sergey.
exactly right. I trust me, I cannot circle breathe.
Yeah.
But I will say it's been refreshing to not have to worry about those situations with our composition
Hmm.
people. I think we've made a good choice of picking people who kind of understand the trumpet a little bit better, and
Hmm.
it's been kind of a breath of fresh air in so many ways.
Hmm. Back to Kelly. What's
Of
his
course.
writing like for solo? I mean, I played some of his bigger works, but what about the solo stuff?
Well, the unique thing is, when I talk to my colleagues about this piece, they're always like, "This is not sounding to Kelly." Like, there's
Hmm.
elements, especially in the third movement, it's more rhythmic and kind of like utilizes small motives. But the first movement of this piece is very angular. It has a
Hmm.
slight aleatoric kind of motive to it. A lot of free motion. I have like a portion of it where I have to like you have to hit 20 notes that speed up and slow down in this time period, like that kind of stuff, which is not often
Hmm.
found in a lot of his other band literature. So this is a very young to Kelly in his writing, and I think
Hmm.
I it'd be cool to see if he had the opportunity to go back and just rewrite the piece, how much it'd be different from now than what it was in the early '90s. But it's really cool to see what he was thinking, because he originally wrote it for Amanda Gatala, and there's a lot of things in it. Like he uses a certain motive that spells like out his initials and things like that. And it's
Yeah.
just cool to see like all the like little idioms that he puts in here that will eventually become some of the idiosyncratic things that he uses in his band works later on. It's just
Hmm.
really cool. It's young to Kelly, so it's fun.
Well, I didn't realize the piece went that far back.
Yeah, this one in particular, I think this the way when I started the conversation with him back in, oh my goodness, I think it was the summer of 2019. Yeah. So well before the pandemic started. And I said,
Hmm.
I reached out to him and said, I found your trumpet concerto. I really love it. I would love to utilize some of my university funding through grants to help bring that work new light and bring it into the medium it needs to be in some cases, to because people know you in the band world.
Hmm.
Um, but in a lot of ways, I think this piece Larry, what was your question again? I love talking about this work. I'm so sorry.
Just no, that it went back that far. When you're
Correct. Oh
talking
my
about,
goodness, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's that got me on the conversation. Sorry about that. My head went somewhere different.
Hmm.
No, my interactions with him via email was he was excited about the project because this is the only work in his entire corpus of repertoire, based on what he told me, that is not recorded. So, which is kind of nuts to think. So it goes all the way back to 1992. Every
Hmm.
work since then has been recorded, but this one piece has never been touched. And
Now you'll
so it's
do a
kind of
live
exciting.
recording.
Yes, so we're doing a bunch of live recordings. So we're doing the premiere will be on April 20th. For those of you listening at home, or if it's already passed, it'll be on my YouTube eventually. It'll be on my upcoming solo CD. But if you want to watch it, it'll be on April 20th, and you can find the live stream at music.utah.edu. And feel free to watch and comment and say, "Yo, I'm listening." It'd be great. But no matter what, we're gonna do the recording. We're doing some punches and stuff leading into it, just make sure we get some stuff.
Hmm.
But I am doing an actual live recording of the concert itself. Yes, sir.
So when it comes to choosing solo rep, I'm taking it you're kind of the adventurous.
I like a good beating, if you will, in so many ways. I have always been a fan of repertoire that just lets me unleash some stuff sometimes.
Hmm.
I like so one composer I'm really drawn to is Joseph Turin.
Hmm.
I was fortunate enough to win the 2014 National Trumpet Competition on utilizing Joseph Turin's Trumpet Concerto. And even before that competition, I've always been in love with how he writes, like unique scale choices, angular lines, his kind of like intuitive lyrical style of writing. Like
Hmm.
it doesn't always just sit inside the same mode. It changes in the middle of a line. And I think he writes in terms of my personal perception. Because I know some players are like, I don't like Justin Turin's work, but I kind of do, and I'm drawn to it.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel I do it really well in terms of his
Hmm.
justice. And the cool thing is, the De Kelly has elements of Joseph Turin's writing, so it makes me feel more at home, even though it's a
Hmm.
composer I don't typically play a lot of his music, obviously, because this is his only solo work.
Right.
But yeah, I like newer pieces. I like the idea of selecting repertoire that hasn't been beat to death.
Hmm.
Um, this gets me on the kick, my soapbox, if you will, because this is the repertoire I picked for my CD. I commissioned 4 or 5 new works for trumpet and piano that
Hmm.
I'm just sick and tired of beating to death the old war horses, if you will. There's validity in those old war horses, playing the Kent
Yep.
Kinnon, the Halsey Stevens, all those things. They're wonderful works, but I feel like we're 2022, and a lot of those works are written in what 1950, 1960. I feel it's
Hmm.
time to like let a new breed of composer, let a new voice kind of come into play.
Well, it's kind of like the Haydn, the Hummel, and the Neruda, right? You still, I think, I want my students to know those pieces, whether or not they perform.
Agreed.
It's one thing, right? And I
Agreed.
think even the Artunian, Halsey Stevens, those works, important to know. But yeah, I agree with you. It's nice to have new repertoire, to commission new repertoire, to search out new repertoire. Um, Although I find it to be, yeah, you embrace the difficulty, but I look at this stuff and I'm thinking this is like me climbing to the 90-meter platform, the diving board, and looking down and thinking, well, this is the end.
You just got to jump, Larry. You just got to
Yeah,
jump.
no, well, yeah, it's not going to be pretty. It's not. Somebody forgot to fill the pool. That's
Oh,
what's
I
going to
know. I
happen.
know.
Yeah, yeah.
In my composition stuff, like especially the commissions, I like, and I tell the composers this: I'm looking for a piece that challenges me or a student technically a little bit,
Hmm.
but not overextends our technique or utilizes 20th century techniques that just it's going to take the focus away from building a refinement in a student's practice,
Hmm.
but also a piece that still holds tight in a lot of ways to kind of like traditional romantic harmony. So we're able to kind of develop in a more traditional way lyricism, musicality,
Hmm.
things like that. Because I don't want pieces that, and this is an oversimplification, that is bop boop beat boop bop kind of music,
Hmm.
and that's what I do with Fifth Bridge. That's that kind of music,
Hmm.
and I think there is a place and time for that work, and it's a time when students or a place in time in students' lineage or education when they can examine repertoire in that. But I think
Hmm.
a lot of times for growing musicians to hold on to some traditionalism in composition
Hmm.
allows for that the growth that we're looking for as trumpet teachers, um, both the technical and lyrical side of stuff.
Hmm. That growth, I think, is exponential compared to when I was going through school. You know, I mean, every generation is going to say that. I mean, the kids that are coming through school now are like, you know, a generation ahead of where we were.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, I'm
right?
terrified. Yes,
Yeah, and
it's nuts.
eventually it's going to be a sixth grader is going to be, you know, they're going to start learning the Halsey Stevens, you know, for
Yeah,
first semester
I
stuff.
I know when I first got my job, one of the members of ITG who was serving as the youth solo coordinator or competition coordinator asked me to be a preliminary judge for it. And listening to those tapes of students who are literally in middle school and high school, some of them playing the Jolivet concertina, I'm like, I can't play the Jolivet concertina this good. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I just started teaching college, and this kid who is from, you
Right.
know, random school somewhere is playing the ever loving snot out of the Jolivet concertina, like the hard stuff, the stuff in the latter part of the piece. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like I know doctoral students at major institutions that cannot play things this clean and this good.
Yeah. Somebody just let me on to, is this William Leathers? Is that the name of this guy that's this
Yes,
young
who just
kid?
got the Nashville job, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous what this
Insane.
guy can do. Yeah.
Another young gentleman. I served as the orchestral excerpt chair for ITG up to last year, and the
Hmm.
gentleman who won the excerpt division, James Vaughn, uh, is just as amazing young student.
Hmm.
He's playing with Canadian brass this week for Pete's sakes,
Hmm.
and it's just
Wow.
like it is amazing to see and to be surrounded by such tremendous talent at such a
Hmm.
young age. And it makes me feel like crap sometimes because it's like, what am I doing with my life? I'm not playing with Canadian brass. So, but it's tremendous. They are
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful players.
Um, we're going to take a quick left turn here.
I love
Uh,
it.
you had said your wife is a vocalist with one of the service bands. Which one was that?
Correct. She sings in the U.S. Army Soldiers Chorus, and that is attached to the U.S. Army Field Band.
And you guys are separated by about what, 2,200 miles?
1,873 miles from my house in Salt Lake to her condo in Maryland. Yep.
Now, were you in the service? Did you guys meet there, or was this in
No.
school, or?
So she was finishing her master's at Eastman when I started my doctorate.
Mhm.
And lo and behold, she pretty much ordered me as a boyfriend. She's like, well, I'd love to have a doctoral student, brass player, and I'd love it if they were from the South. Well, that's me, right? So one of her friends knew me and said, hey, come to my house on Friday for dinner. And she invited me and she invited my wife. And lo and
Mhm.
behold, we hit it off. And now we've been married for 6, 7 years now. And so she auditioned for the field band job the the spring semester of my first year. So she was just graduated,
Mhm.
and she won it. So she's been in there for 8 to 9 years now, and um, she has loved every second of it. And we've been
Mhm.
apart, unfortunately, for what is going to be coming on 6 years at the start of the
Yeah.
school year. But she is moving to me in August because we want to have kids, we want to have a family.
So is she separating then from the service?
She is finishing her contract. Yes,
Yeah. Wow.
yeah, and
Um,
she's looking forward to teaching elementary music because she runs one of the
yeah.
only children's chorus for the Department of Defense. It's really cool. It was featured on like Today Show and stuff when the pandemic hit, so it's great.
Um, yeah. I never understood how people could manage those long distance relationships.
It sucks. It
Yeah.
sucks a lot. Yeah.
I mean, even you know with Zoom and other things like that, it's not the same. But
Let's just say your boy now has Delta Gold status for all the flying he's been doing, so it's been really nice. I get to check 2 bags for free, so it's that's the plus. Let me tell you, that's the
yeah.
plus.
Okay. So we're going to take another left turn.
I love it.
Well, back to one of the reasons I really wanted to talk to you. Let's talk about the weight loss
Sure.
aspect. Um, when and you can of course divulge as much or as little as you would like, but what your experience was with this.
So I originally went at my heaviest was when I finished my doctorate. I was like 350 pounds or so. I was a big boy, if you will. And I've kind of been big my whole life, and it's a natural thing. My family, we like we're cold people. We come out of West Virginia, we're just built big.
Husky,
Um,
right? That's what they
yeah,
called
yeah,
us,
that's what my
husky
mom said when I was little, but that's such a BS thing. Oh, you're just still husky, you're big
or
bones. I
big
have the same
boned.
size
Yeah.
bones. I have the same size bones you do, mom. Come on.
Hmm.
But lo and behold, I was not selected in, so to speak. I have to keep this kind of like in this realm. But I was the last standing member of an Army Field Band audition.
Hmm.
And it was exciting because I had the possibility of being with my wife.
Hmm.
And without divulging too much information, um, let's just say I had to lose some weight fast.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously, I'm not in that position, so I didn't lose it fast enough.
Hmm.
But in so many ways, it started me on a process of just continuing that weight loss.
Hmm.
And I, in a lot of ways, lost weight faster than I needed to, for one,
Hmm.
and discovered a lot of things about my playing and myself in that same process.
Hmm.
Um, and from going from someone who never worked out to working out twice a day, and someone who never checked their calorie count, who checked their calorie count quite a bit. It
Hmm.
was literally like you said, taking a sharp left turn. I literally threw the anchor out the back of the boat going 90 is what I did. And it hurt in a lot of ways. And
Hmm.
I discovered a lot of things about, the physical impacts of what it means to put your body in that situation. And I learned a lot about what it means to actually lose weight healthily.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and it was a journey in so many ways, both
Well, and
physically, socially, and mentally in a lot of ways.
no idea that this is going to affect your trumpet playing one way or the other, right? You're thinking
Correct.
this is just a physical change, nothing. And so this is where the shock really comes in, right?
Yep.
It's like, oh crap.
Because you're not expecting anything.
Yeah.
You're not expecting anything to happen at all. And then when it does happen, it terrifies you.
Yeah.
Um, because for me at that time in my life, I had just finished my doctorate. I had just um, graduated. I had my degree in my hand, and I couldn't play.
Hmm.
I had uh, a lot of student loan debt, a number that I would feel very bad to say out loud on a podcast, but let's say it's quite a bit.
Hmm.
Um, and I could not do what I had set my entire life out to do,
Hmm.
um, because of something else, because I lost so much weight.
Well, and another thing that goes along with that is you don't want anybody to know it,
Oh my
right?
gosh, no.
Is because as soon as they, well, he can't play anymore. They're not going to call me anymore because I can't do this. They're going to hear me. I'm going to get fired. But all the, well, it's bad enough that we have that voice talking to us. We don't need
Imposter syndrome like crazy. Yeah,
it,
totally.
right, and that we don't need another voice up there, echoing what's going on now. But um, okay, so yours was quick, and I just had read through the article that you had done. I guess the
Mhm.
presentation you had done for ITG,
Sure.
and it looked like your weight loss was fairly quick, just a matter of months.
Months in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously, when you lose weight and it's seen very quickly in bigger guys or bigger people. Like you lose a lot of weight quick, and then you start to slow
Hmm.
down. Like it's like
Hmm.
it tumbles and then it slows itself down. Because your body's really like, wait, you're exercising now. This is not cool. I gotta keep some fat around, to keep you
Hmm.
alive. Um, but yeah, in a lot of ways, I did lose weight fast.
Hmm.
Um, and I think there's there was so many things that I didn't know that I know now that like when I'm losing weight now, the pandemic did not help me. I'll tell you what, Larry. Oh my
Right.
goodness. So let's just say, let's ignore the pandemic weight your boy put on. But like when I lose weight now, I do it in a way where it's not impacting my playing. I'm
Hmm.
doing it in a way that I understand what's going on. I know what's going to happen, and I'm checking all the
Hmm.
boxes to do it right. But I think what I went through in that initial weight loss was something that I have heard from multiple people. So you're not the first person to reach out to me saying, "Oh, I want to talk about this," because this seems to be a huge thing happening
Hmm.
um, all the time now. Like people are like they're getting on this health kick, they're losing weight, and they don't know how to handle that weight loss, especially when it comes to their playing.
Um, I liked one of the things that you put in your article, your outline. It was about reach out, right? And I
Yes.
said a minute ago, you don't want anybody to know. And there are probably a few people that you trusted that you reached out to. For
Oh my
me,
goodness, yes.
it was Vinny DiMartino, Wayne Bergeron, Bobby Shue. It was kind of nice to have some of the connections I've got now because I could call these people. I knew Wayne had gone through some because of the cancer treatment, the radiation that he had gone through. Um, I was calling all kinds of people saying, Nancy Taylor, Nancy, have you had anybody in your studio that's gone through this? I was just trying to find somebody that had an answer somewhere.
Yeah.
And Bobby has been, of course, he knows everything about anatomy and physiology. I mean,
Yes.
he knows everything. And one of the things that I found out, it wasn't just the weight loss. We can talk more about this in a second, but I think the actual state of being in ketosis is one of the things that is the most negative, has the most negative effect. It's one thing to lose mass, but I think the actual when your body is in that state of ketosis, there's something chemically that's going on that is just it wrecks everything
And I think it
here.
also helps, yeah, because these are very small muscles, right?
Hmm.
And so, like, you can lose weight in your arm, and you're like, "Oh, I'm a little weaker." It's like whatever. You can still pick groceries up, but like when you
Hmm.
lose weight here, um, it hurts the muscles. Like you are damaged, physically sucking the life
Hmm.
out of your muscles.
Hmm.
Um, and for me, like the thing that I realized, and I think it's been a while since I wrote the article, but like when you change your body, you are changing your instrument in a lot of ways. And so that was something I wasn't expecting because, like, I
Hmm.
apparently, when I was, the big guy that I was when I finished my doctorate, I was using my air and my body a certain way to support the sound that I wanted. And when I lost that, quote unquote, finger quotes, resonant chamber, it affected a lot of stuff.
Well, resonant chamber, yes, but also gravity, right? I mean,
Oh my
when you've
gosh.
got all this extra weight up top, right? I mean, you don't have to do a lot of compression, right? I mean, gravity just kind of pulls all that
Yes.
weight around and moves the air for you. So, yeah, you have to relearn how to use your core, how to move the air proactively. That was a huge thing.
I
No pun
love
intended.
watching, oh, of course, I love watching videos now, especially with my students, of like Maurice Andre, because he
Hmm.
was kind of a big fella, and like he's
Hmm.
always playing like very small and tight, like horns, but he had to use a little bit of his gut to
Hmm.
support and kind of create the air that he needed to have the sound he did. And so that's something that like I took for granted. I was just like, I looked at myself in the mirror, I'm like, I'm fat, I gotta get rid of this fat. And then I didn't think, whoa, 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 you know how to play with
Hmm.
this fat or this mass on your body. Yeah, it's something that I never thought I would have to address. I thought everything was going to be positive through the whole process,
Hmm. Hmm.
and that one day you wake up and you can't play a G above the staff.
Or you can once and then there's no response the next time around, but then you can,
Yes.
so there's the whole inconsistent aspect, and having zero endurance, right?
Oh
It's
my
one thing to lose
gosh.
your range, but then to feel like you can't hang on to anything, right?
Yeah.
It's terrifying. I mean, truly, I think I would rather jump off a 90-meter platform
Into a
uh,
pool with no water.
than
Yeah.
go.
I
Yeah,
honestly, sometimes
yeah,
me too, Larry. Yeah.
yeah.
Because like the obviously the expectations you have for yourself in your practice session. So when you spent your entire life picking your horn up and in some ways having a sound or a voice come out that you expect, and that one day it doesn't happen, and the next day it doesn't
Hmm.
happen, the day after that never happens. And the other tail end of all this conversation is, yes, you hear and you feel the physical, but the one thing that beats you up the most is the mental. And I was seeing a therapist, and I was talking with my therapist, like, why is it doing this way? And they always talk about, like, the myelin sheath, about like, doing something and you connect it the right way and you build the right kind of protein connector in your brain. Well, when I lost that weight, I was having to kind of reteach myself how to play, but I was teaching myself in a way just to get the sound out. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was doing all these things the wrong way. And I wasn't trying to be smart about the restructure of what I was using. The apparatus changed, the size of it, all these things. And I was not being smart about it at all.
So Bobby calls it neuroplasticity. Basically your brain was sending signals to your muscles to do one thing when your body was a certain way.
Yep.
But as the body changed, the brain has to send different signals. So
Correct.
there's a process you have to go through that is very intentional. And I've been very grateful. Bobby just checked in with me a couple days ago to ask how things were going. It's like
Perfect.
uh, because this is something new even for him, is dealing with the whole ketosis thing. So he's, I feel like I'm one of his guinea pigs. He's checking on me to see if I'm still alive. But uh, yeah, so mine was pretty quick too. But I didn't do it. I did bariatric surgery,
Okay.
was how I had done it. But 180 pounds in about 7 months.
That sounds pretty fast.
That's fast. And but I did it healthfully,
Yep.
under doctor supervision.
Good.
But there again, that almost from the beginning, and in a time, 2020, where I hadn't touched the horn, right? Like most of us, maybe for a little bit, there were no gigs, right? There's no teaching. It's just, so with the horn, you don't pick it up.
Yeah.
That didn't help, right? I was already out of practice, literally. Yeah, so that didn't help things. But um, things are getting better, and I always try to think, if you go through something like this, there's got to be a reason. And it's like, okay, I can be a help to someone else along the way, right? It's like even having this conversation right here, right now,
Yes.
or you
Yes.
doing the presentation at ITG, is to let people know that, you know what, you're not alone. You're not the only one who's
Yes.
gone through this. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a train headed right at you, right? Um, but I think I'm grateful for all the struggles I've had in my playing, because as I've overcome them, it's like, okay, now I can relate to my students a little bit
Yes.
better,
I
a
think
little
the
more
same thing all the
effectively.
time. I mean, the
Hmm.
things that I had to readjust in my playing, um, I use now more with my students because I think not many of my students were my size.
Hmm.
Very, if any, no, none of my students were my size. And so
Hmm.
now that I've gone down a weight, I'm getting a little bit back, and I've gone down, and I'm getting a little bit back. You know how it is. It's the fluctuation, stress of
Hmm.
the job, whatever it may be. COVID-19 made a big thing, so yeah. But the things that I learned in the kind of getting back up on the horse, I use more often than not. Just checking the balance of lip and air, kind of diving back into
Hmm.
what Jim Thompson taught me at Eastman, and then kind of retooling it a little bit to fit what I needed to feel right, to feel comfortable
Hmm.
with a new system. Because
Hmm.
in some small way, you kind of have to teach yourself how to replay the instrument again. Like you understand the basic fundamentals of it, but it's a different thing.
So I know Jim is big into buzzing. Of course,
Yes.
he's written a book or two
Yeah.
about that, and that's actually one of the things that Bobby uses in this as well. In your studies with Jim, were you doing a lot of buzzing already?
Not before I started with him. And to be honest with you, when I started my doctorate with Jim, um, I ended up being like, oh, I could do buzzing. And I got the book and played through the book. And I was like, oh, this is
Hmm.
not bad. And then I realized I hurt myself.
Mm.
And then I get to my second lesson. He's like, what's going on? It's like, I've been doing the buzzing. He's like, how many are you doing? I said, I'm doing 1 through 10, 1 through 11. He's like, we haven't even got past the first page yet. Why are you doing all those? I said, because, this looks pretty easy. He's like, that's not how it works. He said,
Hmm.
so you hurt yourself. We have to back it back up and start over
Hmm.
again.
Hmm.
And in full disclosure, when I study with him, I followed through the tracks with him, and I didn't see a whole lot of progress in buzzing with him. But when I graduated and I had this instance happen to me, no joke, it was almost like a giant epiphany. It's like, that's what he's talking about. And I
Hmm.
see more validity in understanding that lip air balance than when I studied with him. Now than
Mm-hmm.
I than then. Sorry, that was a weird way to say that, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like I can speak about it way more efficiently, way more personally
Mm-hmm.
because of my time the weight loss stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like he did a beautiful job explaining why he did the things he did in the book. But at the end of the day, I think going through my circumstance, yeah, now I use buzzing and I have all those tools to
So
combat it.
there's the argument, of course, the one side that says, we don't actually buzz our lips when we play.
Yep,
It's the standing wave, and
yep,
you can get into that, but um, there is validity is not the right word. There is something very purposeful and useful about buzzing. I think a lot of ear training, right? I mean,
yep.
you've got to place the pitch, right? And you're going
Yeah,
to know
exactly.
whether you're putting the right information into the mouthpiece. But um, there's a lot of usefulness for that. I'm still struggling with the right word for that, but hopefully you know what I mean.
But I mean, like his concept of a buzzing, and so to speak, goes along the lines with like the Chicago idea of like sing, buzz, play, that kind of stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
the song and wind, like all these elements are always coming back to buzzing in some way. And yes,
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of ways, yeah, you're not buzzing your lips when you play trumpet. You're activating the air. You're just bouncing off the sound wave. I get it. I 100% understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think the best way to describe what I'm listening for when I buzz, I actually got from Max Matson, Dr. Max Matson. He's one of my colleagues here in the state of Utah. He teaches at Utah
Mm-hmm.
State, and he says when he does buzzing, he listens for like almost like this spit kind of sound to it,
Mm-hmm.
where it's not as big and full as you want it to be, but there's a projection in it because you're having the air be the catalyst for sound rather than you having to control the air with the lips. So
Mm-hmm.
when you listen for that kind of spittle sound a little bit, it matches more the buzzsaw effect that Thompson was talking about in his lessons, rather than you having a clear, beautiful sound that you're controlling with your lips.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that helped me understand quicker about that air balance that I needed
Mm-hmm.
to figure out in my playing when I lost my weight.
Mm-hmm. And just to throw another aspect in, one of Bobby's things before even the buzzing is the flutter. He does a lot just activating everything here before you even get to the buzz. So anybody out there that wants to find out more, contact Bobby, get some lessons with him because yeah, he's kind of helped save my bacon. what's
Save
what's
your
left? What's
bacon.
left?
I
What's
love
left of
that.
it? So
Save my bacon. I'm using that from now on, Larry.
yeah, well, there's another T-shirt, right? Yeah.
Save my bacon.
Okay. Another left turn. You had referred to NTC earlier, and NTC's coming up next week, I think.
Yep. Many of the students have started traveling as we're recording this podcast on with
Mm-hmm.
the 29th of March.
Mm-hmm.
My students travel tomorrow. I stay here because I'm working on my recording, but my
Mm-hmm.
students go tomorrow. So yeah, it's coming right up.
Have you got soloist and trumpet ensemble going?
We just have soloists. So
Mm-hmm.
this year we had a trumpet ensemble, but there was a lot of it was around the time we had the Omicron variant, and it was just kind of
Mm-hmm.
beating the crap out of our ensemble, and we weren't able to get enough rehearsals in. And our policies at the university, when the students interact with a student that has COVID, they have to quarantine, so they're
Mm-hmm.
off campus. It was just not the right semester for us to really gung ho at it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But the solo side of stuff worked out pretty well, so I'm excited for
Mm-hmm.
my students that are going.
Back when you had competed, how
Mm.
many years did you participate in that?
I'm gonna sound stupid. I only did one. I was a one and done in so many ways.
Show
I
off.
know. I hate saying it, but I never. But thing about it is, like we talked about before, like there's a sense of imposter syndrome, right? And
Mm,
so even though I was the teaching assistant for Jim Thompson at the Eastman School of Music, I never thought I was good enough to do it my first year.
mm-hmm.
I had done trumpet ensemble stuff, like the Eastman Trumpet Ensemble went my very first year, and
Mm-hmm.
when I was at Virginia Tech, we took our trumpet ensemble back in 2008. And so, like, I never thought I was good enough as a soloist until Jim was like, I'm going to put on my Jim voice. It's like, oh, just go do it. Like, sorry, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Just go do it. And I was like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
fine. I guess I should be doing this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked a piece that I fell in love with, and it was kind of sits in my wheelhouse a little bit.
What was
Um,
that?
the Joseph Turin Trumpet Concerto.
Oh, Well, Turin, back to Turin
Yeah,
again. Yeah.
that's yeah. See, I told you that's why I mean, it's not that that piece started me on the love of like the way he writes,
Hmm.
but it was a part of that journey. And so for me, like, yeah, I did one NTC and I won the thing. I'm blessed. I'm very fortunate. I made a lot of friends. I'm sure I made a lot of enemies for doing that, but but those people that I competed against were colleagues now.
Hmm.
One people that was in the finals with me was Jenna Oliverio, and she teaches at Oakland University, and I had her out for a master class for my students
Hmm.
last year, and then she had me out for a master class for her students,
Hmm.
and it's just for me, it's I've been viewing NTC more as kind of like it's a great place for you to go, like do the competition stuff, see if you can get some
Hmm.
money, but get some chance to perform in front of people and peers and trumpet teachers
Hmm.
from all over the country. But at the same time, connect with students that you're going to be working elbow to elbow with in the trenches when you start your career.
Hmm.
It's nuts.
It's terrifying. I never did it, but I look at it and I'm thinking, who in their right mind? It's like performing at ITG. You
Yes,
couldn't you couldn't pick a more stressful to me pick a more stressful place.
I've done it
I would
multiple
rather
times and it's terrifying. Yes.
I'd rather perform for a whole bunch of euphonium players, right? Because they're not paying attention. They never look up. They never, it's like
They hide behind their bells like tuba
it's a
players. Yeah.
safe audience, right?
Yeah.
Um, I'm drawing a blank on Phil. You're going to remember his name. Uh, Plays down in Knoxville.
In Knoxville. Oh, Philip Chase Hawkins.
Chase Hawkins. Yes,
Yeah,
Philip Chase. Yeah.
we looked the same when I won NTC. So
Oh,
like people
well,
would be
and I
like,
was
"Oh,
thinking you
Chase," I was
guys
like,
were,
"No, I'm Peyden." No.
yeah, about the same time, exactly. Yeah,
Yep.
that's what I was thinking. And another, I brought him up because another person who really, I think, goes after the newer repertoire.
Yes. It was weird because when I won NTC, uh, Chase was actually coming back to Eastman to do a master class the next week. So he
Hmm.
stayed at my apartment the night I won because we drove back after the award ceremony. So he was giving a master class at back at Eastman that week, and it was just like, cool, great, come on, stay in the house, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's he has a very um, wonderful way of approaching new rep. Like he's talked about it a bunch, and it's just he is well into the new rep. I'm holding finger
Hmm.
quotes on a podcast. How good is this?
Hmm.
Uh,
Perfect.
he's well into holding a more focus in the new rep than I am. I still
Hmm.
like a little bit of traditional values of trumpet piano with that kind of romantic kind of tie. He's into
Hmm.
playing like Litany and Maxwell Davies and stuff like that, and I'm like, I am not ready to tackle that bridge just yet.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm thinking about. We've taken enough left turns. We're probably headed back in that first
I
direction,
love it. I
right?
love
It's
it.
like, yeah.
We're NASCAR
I was
drivers. That's
thinking
exactly what
about
we're doing.
the in. Oh my gosh, bridge. Um,
Fifth bridge.
Fifth bridge. I keep wanting to say fast bridge or far. I don't know why. Fifth bridge. Ashley Hall, right? You had mentioned.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, which I'm going to talk to Ashley in about a week and a half, and I'm really looking forward to that.
When you
I've
do,
talked.
please tell her Peyton says, hey.
I will.
Good.
Well, I'm going to come back to her in a second. Of course, Gabe DiMartino, Gabriel, man, he is like. I don't know if your experience with him, but he is like super focused and
Oh my
super
gosh.
analytical about everything.
Like
And then who's the
I
other
love
person in the
listening.
group?
So it's Jason Crafton, who is the trumpet
Jason.
professor at Virginia Tech, and then
Hmm.
Kelly Rawson, who's the trumpet teacher at Christopher Newport.
Okay. Sorry, you were going to say something about Gabriel.
Oh, I was just like you're exactly right. Gabe is so like there's another level of analysis or another layer of analysis that I
Hmm.
will never get to. But he's
Yeah.
just like, I'm already here. I'm living in it. Look at this. And I'm like, you brought a bass trumpet to play to warm up on. Like he'll start on the bass trumpet and work his way up through the instruments. I'm just like, I brought a B flat. That's what we're playing. We're playing this whole thing
Yeah.
today, so it's how it's gonna work.
Mm. Um, okay, so I want to go back to. I'm looking forward to talking to Ashley because what's the name of the thing that she does? I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank here.
Oh,
It's
it's
like the
like
whole
the
coaching
coaching,
the.
yeah, coaching whole lifestyle stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been blowing up, and she's been amazing at it. She's such a good person for that stuff.
Well, and you mentioned imposter syndrome, right? I wonder, is
Hmm.
that, have you guys ever discussed that just between the two of you?
Not between the two of us. I feel in so many ways when I'm around Ashley. Ashley's such a BA player. Like she's just on it. Like sometimes the rest of us are just like, Ashley, why are you playing with us? You're too good for us.
Mm,
Because she is. She is such an amazing player. Her lyricism, her sound, her
mm,
technicality stuff. She's. I just feel like we're weighing her down in a lot of ways.
mhm,
Um, but I don't think I've ever had that conversation with her. I get that way sometimes when I'm around like professor colleagues a lot. And I know she
mm,
teaches at Longy, but she doesn't view herself as a professor. I get that way a lot because I feel like I've never done enough to be
mm.
equal to some of my professor colleagues, and that's where my imposter syndrome kicks in. I think of myself as a fairly decent player. I mean, I have things to improve on, obviously, duh. But like when it comes to like writing or being a really good administrator and stuff like that, that's where I dig into the imposter syndrome.
Yeah, right. There's this aspect of I'm going to be found out,
Yes.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's really, I think, a big part of it. And along that line, I learned not a couple of years ago. Have you heard petered out? If somebody's petered out, the
Oh my
Peter
gosh, yeah.
principle,
Oh, I'm all
right? I
petered
mean,
out, yeah.
yeah. So it's the same thing. If you eventually get to the point to where your incompetence catches up with you, right?
Yeah, totally.
Um, which is probably me in this podcast tonight. I'm
Oh,
realizing that.
you're Larry, you're killing it. You are the best MC I've ever had.
Oh,
This is amazing.
oh. Well, then now you're going to say this is the only interview you've done, right? So
No,
that
I've done quite a
qualifies.
bit, so you're good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. Thank you. I have a lot
High
of fun
praise.
doing this.
I love doing these. These are so much fun, especially with a new person I've never met. Oh, I
Yeah.
just get to have a blast. It's perfect.
You know what, I think we're like instant friends. It's like why waste time, trying to go through all the process of getting to know somebody. Let's just start out by
Truth.
being friends and,
Truth.
and get to it.
Love it.
So, and are you going to be at ITG by
I
any
will
chance?
be at ITG.
Well,
And
then,
this is a small little plug. If you want to bring your golf clubs to ITG, we're running the very first ever golf scramble that will raise money to help contribute to the Ryan Anthony Scholarship Fund. It happens on the Tuesday, right before ITG starts.
do you need a beverage cart driver?
Uh, I think we're going to have enough beverage carts on that course. We're all trumpet players. It's San Antonio. It's hot in Texas. They might need 4 or 5. So, Larry, I mean, I can put your name in for it if you want.
That is the only thing I'm qualified to do on a golf course. I'm just
Well,
telling
if,
you.
if you
That's
leave the cooler open and speed off real fast, some stuff's going to fly out. We're going to give you a good tip.
so. When I was in the service, it was stationed in at the Pentagon in D.C. As opposed to the Pentagon anywhere else. I mean, um, so once a year, the department would go over to Bowling or Andrews. I forget where they went for the golf course. And being the rank I was, I only qualified to drive the beer cart, the beverage cart.
Seriously. Oh my gosh.
Now, nobody told me don't drive up on the green. Nobody told me don't yell across the course, hey, did anybody want anything? I mean, I had no idea about etiquette, right?
Oh my gosh.
Now,
I'm excited for the Masters next week, and I can imagine if anybody did any, well, they don't have carts at Augusta, but like
yeah,
if anybody yelled at Augusta, oh my gosh, it'd be over.
right. So I learned pretty quickly, and I'll say I only made it onto the very edge of the green before everybody had a heart attack, uh, and then I steered myself away. But um, yeah,
What you just
again,
do is you find the highest ranking person's ball on the green and you drive a cartwheel right from the through the wheel right to the hole. You say, "Sir, I got you covered." Mission accomplished.
yeah, yeah. Well, let me tell you, that would have been. You know how much brass was out there?
Oh, I can imagine. I can
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah. So boy, that was ages ago. You know what? Had I stayed in, I would have had 30 years by this point. I could have
And
been
you would never
retired.
have to drive the cart anymore. You'd
No.
just be straight up golfing the whole time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Um, uh, uh, my family really likes to do miniature golf. They kind of search out anytime we go on vacation. They search out a mini golf course.
I grew up in
That's
Virginia, so we went to Myrtle Beach all the time, and that's all we
mm,
did.
hmm I've never seen any myrtles out there though
At Myrtle Beach. Yeah,
at
me
Myrtle
neither.
Beach. Yeah.
At
So
I always think it's for me, it's just kind of like this is the place that everyone from my hometown goes for senior day.
Hmm.
or senior week, whatever it is after high school, and it's just like, oh, this is very touristy. So I'm kind of done with Myrtle Beach. So
Let's go back to Utah for a second then.
perfect.
How close are you to Salt Lake City?
My university is on the hill that overlooks it. So like I live, I currently live in Taylorsville, which is a suburb of Salt Lake.
And you know that there's a Intermountain Suzuki Institute there.
Mm-hmm. Kira Savronsky runs it. I know Kira very
I was
well.
just going to ask. I mean, what a wonderful person.
She is amazing. I love Kira.
She
I've
was part of my
actually,
Suzuki class.
no joke. So you've taken the
Oh yeah,
class as well.
oh yeah, yeah. I've done book one and two.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's awesome. Yeah, I've been trying to get my students to do it because like, yes, there's some things that like that you need to teach at least like high school or college level students a different way. But
Mhm.
there's so many elements in Suzuki that I think could be like telegraphed or transcribed into higher education that are
Mhm.
just beautiful ways of teaching people how to do stuff like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so here's a plug for there's book one, book two, maybe even book three training out there in person. I think there's also an online course, but in person. So if anybody wants to check that out, you can just Suzuki Trumpet. Google that, and you're going to come on the dates and all the information for that. But I would highly recommend it. Even if you're not going to teach it, I think knowing that the process, the method. But I can't imagine that you'd go through it and then not want to teach.
Well, I think like for me, I've been when Kira sends me emails, she's like, "We're doing a clinic here, shows for the students." I
Mhm.
always attach this long, drawn out paragraph of me and like you need to be the best educator you can be, and this is one avenue that's never explored in any music education class.
Mhm.
Get on it, go look it up, be a part of it, because I think what Kira is like one or two like trumpet people in the United States that actually is certified to teach it. Like
Well,
there's not many.
no, there are. Let's see. In book one class we did back in February, there were 9 of us,
Gotcha. Okay, so it's way bigger
and
than I thought it was. Good.
book two. Well, but still, it's just about 100 worldwide. I mean,
That's insane. That's so
so
crazy.
yeah. So now here's a fun fact. Jim Markey, bass
Oh my gosh,
trombonist
yeah.
with Boston, right? He was in my class. So I mean, we're talking, you know, people
That's so
of
cool.
every. Yeah, well, you should Google his or go on YouTube and look up his studio because it's insane what he's doing with the trombone in Suzuki.
That's so cool. Okay, I'll check it
Yeah.
out. Because
Um,
there is, like I said, there's so many things about the basic principles of Suzuki that benefit students. Because like learning things in rote obviously is how most of us sing in the car. We're not looking at sheet music of stuff in the car. We're just modeling sound. And I when I teach trumpet, I talk about that all the time because like, oh, we're learning a language, so model my sound. And I think it's such a great thing.
um, so I'm actually doing a session at ITG on Suzuki
No
trumpet.
joke. What day is it?
I don't know yet. I don't know if we've gotten assignments on any of that, but
itgconference.org, I think is the last thing.
well,
Yeah, all the
I'm
all the
planning
all
on
the stuff's up.
I'm planning on being there the whole time, so it
Perfect.
doesn't matter when it's going to
Well, as
be.
soon as I find it, I'm gonna come in your audience and be like, "Whoa, Larry!"
You okay? Thank you for not saying you're going to heckle me. That would be the
No,
worst.
why would I heckle you? You're doing a great conference.
Oh, well, I'm looking forward to it. I know somebody's already done a session on this, but this will be my take on it. And
Sure, and that's how you have to look at it. Yeah.
I was talking to Kathy Leach a couple days ago and talking about it, and I said, maybe I should get to work on actually putting this presentation together. It's only 2 months away, but
It's only 2 months.
I of course I had to submit an outline and all of that, and I've got it. It's all up here. It's just
It's I know that's how it
get it
always is.
organized.
All
Yeah,
all of my grants that I have left to write, no, they're all up here. That's right.
yeah, yeah. Boy, the world just gets smaller and smaller. Mention somebody like Kira, and
Oh yeah, and she lives here in town. I've played Utah
yeah,
Symphony stuff with her before. It's great.
yeah. I'm hoping to meet her at either a Suzuki conference or ITG at some point. And I actually might be coming out to Salt Lake City late summer or late June, I think, for the Suzuki stuff. If that's the case, I might knock on your
Oh,
door.
come on out, Larry. Let's do
Yeah.
this.
So, um, holy cow, man, you've done a lot of stuff. And you're only
I
what, like 29? I mean,
I'm 34. Come down. I know I look
oh,
young because I'm very oily. My wife gets mad at me. She's like, "You never have to put lotion on." It's like, "No, because I'm really oily. So my skin's gonna look youthful forever," as she says.
uh, wait, you're only 34?
Hmm.
Oh, holy cow! And to have done as much as you've, yeah, that's impressive.
If
It's,
it means
and
anything, I'm pre-tenure, so there's a reason I'm working really, really hard.
so how far away?
I put my file forward for external review next month.
Uh, well, good luck with everything.
So if those listening, if you get a mention from me, please be nice. Please be nice, external reviewers.
How long is that process supposed to take? I mean, once you submit everything.
So our RPT, retention, promotion, and tenure guidelines at the University of Utah, we're putting a new version of them forward, and they're to become effective July. But because I was hired before those came into effect, we're using the
Mm-hmm.
ones from 2008. But my process is it's a 6-year tenure process.
Mm-hmm.
They give me an official review in year 3 and unofficial reviews all the other years. But the tenure review process is in May. My director sends out my tenure file or portfolio to external
Mm-hmm.
reviewers. They write letters saying, kind of like peer review in the field. Oh, this person is meeting your expectations. They're a good contributor to our field, yada, yada, yada. And then they send letters back. And those
Mm-hmm.
letters accompany my file from the university, like the School of Music review committee, then the College of Fine Arts, then our dean reviews it, and then it goes to a university panel and then to the president itself. And it takes all year. So in 2023, I will know sometime through the semester.
Leave it to academia
Tell me about it. I know.
to take forever, right?
I know. Just can we just do it like digitally? Like, give me a thumbs up or thumbs down, kind of like a Zoom meeting. Great. Just let them have it. Yeah, great. Perfect.
Wow, it's like how they say, you can't turn a ship on a dime. It takes forever, right? Yeah. So it's kind of that way with academia. Well,
Yes.
and I said good luck, but I know it's not luck. I mean, you've put in a lot of hard work
I
on
appreciate you saying
preparing
that.
that. So yeah.
It's
Um,
something that I've had a lot of faculty like mentor talk to me about because I'm very I don't say I'm paranoid, but I'm never confident about it. And again, it's the imposter syndrome. Like, have I done enough? Have I
mhm,
done enough for this? And all my
mhm,
colleagues are like, calm down, you're fine. You've well met our expectations above and beyond. But I keep going back to the adage, it's like tenure's never guaranteed.
mhm,
And so I'm not gonna stop until I get it. And honestly, Larry,
mhm,
because of who I am as a person, I'm not gonna stop once I get it because I've got a lot of stuff I still have left to do and plan for.
mhm.
So your boy ain't gonna slow down. So
Uh, had this been a goal of yours all along, is to teach at the university level?
yeah, I when I started my undergrad, I was talking with the students at Heidelberg.
Mm,
Um, Shout out to Heidelberg if you're listening. Woo woo woo. But in a lot of ways, yeah, I started out to be a band director, and because I wanted to do what my band director did for me, is create this
mhm,
beautiful love for music and just kind of fall in love with it. I wanted to have students do the same thing. And
mhm,
then John Adler, who was my teacher then, he's at Northern Colorado now, was like,
mhm,
"You're pretty decent. You should consider just adding the performance thing to your degree."
mhm,
Because it doesn't require at Virginia Tech the way the curriculum is structured. It doesn't
mhm,
require a whole lot of new things outside of what the education route was.
mhm,
So it was just an extra aside. I was like, great, I'll do that. And then lo and behold, I went to University of Miami and studied. I was a TA for Craig Morris there for my
mhm,
master's, and I still was kind of like in this performance route where I wanted to now be a player instead of a teacher. And then he gave me the opportunity my second year of my master's to do some private instruction, and I really fell in love with it.
mhm,
Like fell in love with it. And because of that, I was like, well, I need to get a doctorate if I want to do this for a living.
mhm,
So in my mind, I went to the best place that I thought would be the best place for me to go, and it's the Eastman School of Music. So I went to Eastman for my doctorate, and I was Jim's TA for all 3 years,
mhm,
and it was a blast. And so yeah, it's I've kind of had this trajectory, this mindset. It's like when I want something, I'm going to go for it. I'm not going to stop till I
mhm,
get it, and it's been a blessing and a curse because of
mhm.
the way I operate. Um, but I couldn't be happier, Larry. Like I love my job. I love my students.
With the playing side of things, were you always solo focused, or did you do a lot of orchestral or ensemble?
I mean, obviously, when you're in school, you want to vary things up a little bit. One thing that I was telling my brass quintet with over this past week, I was like, I've been really um, lucky to have them select me to take over for the
Mm-hmm.
trumpet position in that group because I never had a whole lot of brass quintet experience in my degrees as a
Mm-hmm.
whole. And so it's an area of my performance that needs to improve, and I feel like I'm driving it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting much better at playing because I have that experience.
Mm-hmm.
But in a lot of ways, Larry, I've been really solo focused a lot of my life. Like I like excerpts to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I obviously I liked the military band excerpts because
Mm-hmm.
I had success, if you
Mm-hmm.
will, call it success,
Mm-hmm.
in the film band audition. But in a lot of ways, I love solos, and I think that's why I'm drawn to the turret stuff, and I'm drawn to
Mm-hmm.
NTC, the soloist set of stuff, because that's just something that really connects with me. I like being, not that I'm a diva, but I like presenting who I am in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in front of an audience because I like to goof around on the stage too. Like I was talking to one of my doctoral students today. I was like, we were talking about stage deportment because he's leaving to go do the national trumpet competition, and we're
Mm-hmm.
like, when you walk out, do this, 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 this. Think about this. Think about because when you walk out, the judges obviously are scoring you on musical stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the back of their mind, they're visually scoring you, which will affect their judgment on
Mm-hmm.
the oral stuff they're supposed to be judging you on. So it's like you have to present yourself visually and, through your performance in a very positive way. So we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
smiling when you come out and all this stuff. And I was telling him, I was like, it's okay to be a little bit of a goofball as long as you're a great player. Like the example I used was like there's a key change or like a little fun chord, if you will, going into the faster section of
Mm-hmm.
Kevin McKee's Centennial Horizon, where it's like a really crunchy chord before we get into like
Mm-hmm.
the build up. And
Uh-huh.
I'll kind of stand at the piano, and then when I wait for that chord, I'll kind of like do a face to the audience, like ooh, they're fun. But I like stupid little stuff like that. I know it's childish, but I
No,
love
no, no.
interacting with audiences that way.
It's not stupid. And one of the first things I do when I walk out is I try to break that fourth wall. I
Yes.
think that is, for me, that's the only way I'm going to survive.
Yep.
Because if I pretend that they're not there, right, never look out there, I'm done.
Correct.
You know.
And I think that's probably the best way to word it, Larry. Like I want to break the fourth wall. And I know people will say, when you go out there, don't look at people in the audience. I look at people and I'll smile at them. I'll say,
And make
hey,
them nervous, right? Why is he
yeah,
looking
yeah,
at me?
exactly. Why is he looking at me? I'll wave and I'll point. It's like, hey.
Yeah.
Some kid was wearing, I did a solo recital a while back and some kid was wearing a cool shirt. And I had this long rest account. And I was like pointing at him. I was like, hey, I like that shirt. That's a nice shirt. And he was like, what? Is he looking at me? And once he realized that he was just no, that's who I was.
Hmm.
Like his demeanor changed. He was in it with me.
Yeah.
Like he was more connected to me than if I never said anything. It was great.
Hmm. Well, I think audiences appreciate that connection, right? I mean, that you recognize that they're there.
Yeah.
I think that's huge.
And
Um,
I love seeing the reactions when they realize that
mhm.
you're not just up there playing for them, you're there with them.
Hmm. Um, Man, Chase, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks. I know I look just
Chase,
like him. Whatever.
yeah. Um, Man, I
Because
tell
he's
you
lost
what, it
weight
was,
too. We talked about this with him too. Yeah.
yeah. Um, he was one of my first interviews. I
No
really, really
joke.
enjoyed. Yeah, yeah.
I love Chase.
Um, Going way back now, 3 years, like almost 3 years. But
Holy crap, Larry.
um, man, this has been a blast. You know,
I
I
love every second of it, dude.
Oh, well, thank you. And I appreciate your time. I say this to everybody, but I really do appreciate it. I know it's, an evening where we could all be doing, watching Netflix or practicing. I don't watch Netflix.
Yes,
I practice scales, right?
I like how you said that, but I'm sure you watch Netflix too. You're just trying to say
Oh
that
yeah.
on your podcast. I get you. I get you.
Well,
Good
I
cover,
can,
Larry.
well, I watch Netflix while I practice. How about that?
I think a lot of people do that. I have made my way through Ozarks with plenty of things going on in the background. Yep.
I love that show.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. I can't wait for the second half of the last season to come out. I'm so pumped about it.
Okay, well, not to do a spoiler for anything, but the way this last season opened,
Oh yeah, because the way
and
the season previous said it ended. Yeah.
you knew, well, I mean, it's the writing for that show. I mean, it couldn't be any darker.
Oh, I love it. I love it. My wife is just now watching it for the first time, and I'm like, "How have you not watched this yet, babe?" And
Yeah.
she texts me the other day. She's like, "Oh my gosh, this person killed this person." I was like, "You have no idea what's about to come your way." She's not even done with season one yet, but I think she's falling in love with it. It's great.
Well, I don't know if you were an Arrested Development fan, but
Oh my gosh,
Jason
Jason
Bateman.
Bateman, baby.
It could not be more of a 180, right? I mean, the
Oh
characters are
my gosh.
so different. Well, no, they're alike in that they're so dysfunctional,
Yes,
but
yeah.
holy cow, yeah.
I've
But
always been hoping that he would do some kind of reference like the monies and the banana stand in
oh,
Ozark. I think
oh yeah,
that'd be such a cool little tip of the hat.
um, yeah. I like that. I don't think it's cheesy when people do that for others. I just saw something this weekend. It'll come, anyways. Well, good. Ozark. There's another series. It's not quite as dark, but Better Call Saul, right? Is another one I'm waiting
Oh
for the
my gosh,
next
I have not watched that yet, but I watched all of Breaking Bad, and during my doctorate, it was amazing. But I haven't started Better Call Saul yet.
3 times. I've gone through
Holy crap,
Breaking
Larry,
Bad.
you practice a lot.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And
You
it's
must be
funny.
really good.
No, no, no. It's just I have a lot of time to waste. First time through, you're a Walter White fan, and then the second
Yes,
time through, you're a Hank fan. And
I
then
never thought about that. Yeah.
well, you start to see things from different perspectives. Then the
Okay.
third time through, you're watching Jesse, and it's like just it's an interesting perspective. How in the world did we get away from trumpet to talking about this? I
It's
don't know,
okay.
but it's all good.
Practice room etiquette. That's what we're talking about. Practice room etiquette
Yeah,
and practice techniques and things to help you practice. Yes.
there you go. And now that there are closed captions, right, you don't have to worry about having the sound
Oh
up,
my gosh, yes, I
right?
know.
Yeah. So, man, okay. So ITG is not that far away. We'll get to share a cup of coffee or something, or something on the golf course, a beverage on the golf course.
Well, you're
But I'm
driving the
looking,
cart, so you bring them
yeah,
to
okay.
me. I'll have them. So
But I'm looking forward to meeting you there in person.
perfect.
And man, thanks again for the time tonight. I really appreciate it. And of course,
Love it, dude.
this this is going to live on in perpetuity on the YouTube channel. And
Love it.
it's great. I'm not going to have to go back and edit. I'm not going to have to bleep anything out. This has been good. This has been good.
You're
So
more than
hang,
welcome. I was very behaved for you, Larry. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Everybody has been actually.
Wait
Okay,
till you
so
meet me in person.
uh, so hang on just a second. I'm going to do a
Sure.
quick sign off here, and of course, thanks to anybody, people that have joined us. Of course, Chop Saver, Austin Custom Brass, Messina Covers, Pickup Blackburn, Carl Hammond Design, Eastman Winds, and S.E. Shires. Thank you again for sponsorship for this podcast. I truly appreciate it. And Peyden, and by the way, it's Peyden for those of you who want to go and look him up on Google, Peyden Shelton.
Because if you type the other paid in, it's somebody who makes way more money than I do
Mm,
because they're good at football. So yeah.
yeah. Are you talking about Peyton Manning?
Yes. Oh
Yeah,
my
of
gosh.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm here
I
in
live, I
Indy.
live in Salt Lake. He retired from the Broncos. So yeah.
Yeah. Now we don't like that really here in Indy.
I'm sure you don't. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Well, hang on there. I'm going to sign off. And okay, everybody, let's see. Who have I got next week? Let me check this out. I think this is, isn't it funny? I can't remember.
Is it
Um,
Ashley?
no, well, Ashley is on the 9th of April.
Okay.
Oh, John Whitman. He is the artist relations manager or director with Yamaha.
Hey, well, tell John I said hello.
I will. And John's, he's right here in Indy, but I'm really looking forward to talking to John. And then, of course, Ashley's going to be on that Saturday after. But yeah, I've got a lot of good people coming up.
You've
And
got a lot of
one
highs from
really,
Peyton to tell people. Yeah.
and this is a really cool one coming up. Charlie Wilson, I think, is his name. I've got to go back. Yeah, he was the road manager for Empire.
Holy crap.
So that I think is going to be an interesting perspective. He
Well, I
he's
hope I hope you get all the good stories.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's got to be at least one, right?
Minimum of
Yeah,
one. Yes.
right. So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I got to find again. This app is new to me. I got to find how to sign off here. Here we go. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.